Ethan Mbappe, Jobe Bellingham. Which brother will have the better career? Today we're going to find out, as we'll be following their careers for the next 10 years, where we'll be counting up their trophies and individual awards. All starting in 2026, with Mbappe entering the second season of a 3-year deal with Lille. And while he's only coming off the bench, he would still find the back of the net 6 times while also collecting 3 assists. And if we shift our focus to Germany, Jobe would have a slightly better season, scoring 7 goals and 4 assists. However, with Dortmund getting eliminated in the UCL quarterfinals and both teams finishing 4th in their respective leagues, neither player would be taking the lead in this competition. And with them both not getting called up for the World Cup, we can move on to Season 2. Both Ethan and Jobe have gone up in overall and share the same goal of working towards a permanent spot in the starting 11. But it's a slightly more important year for Ethan, who's playing out the final year of his contract. And if he performs well enough, he could earn a transfer to a bigger club. But before we see how he does, let's shift our focus towards Germany, where Jobe is riding the momentum of last year and continuing to impress with not only his playmaking ability, but his eye for goal. And with the manager giving him more playing time, he was able to score 8 goals and collect 5 assists. But more importantly, he was in the starting 11 for the German Cup final against Frankfurt and provided the game-winning assist in a 1-0 win to lift the same trophy his brother did just a few years ago. Jude won this exact trophy in his first year with Dortmund, and now Jobe can say he's won it as well. Whether Jobe will go on to win a Champions League trophy just like his brother is yet to be known. But over in France, Ethan is closing out his journey at Lille with another strong season, improving to 7 goals and 7 assists. However, with Lille finishing 4th in Ligue 1 and 35th in the Champions League, it means that Ethan is still trailing in this competition. However, with the progress he's made in the last 2 years, he's attracting interest from bigger clubs. And when it was revealed in an interview that Kylian and his entire family were big fans of AC Milan, when they showed interest, it was only a matter of time before Ethan put pen to paper. And at Milan, he'll have the opportunity to learn beside an all-time great in Luka Modric. And so far, so good. He's developing a good chemistry with Leao and Santi Jimenez, and he was able to win his first trophy after beating Napoli in the Coppa Italia finals. And in the Champions League, Milan made it to the quarterfinals against Real Madrid. And for the first time, Ethan and Kylian are facing off against each other. And despite Milan winning the first leg 2-1, they would head into the Bernabeu and unfortunately see their Champions League run come to an end after conceding 4 goals and losing 5-3 on aggregate. Dortmund, on the other hand, defeated Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals, and then followed that up with a 3-1 win on aggregate over Arsenal, which means that Jobe has the opportunity to win a Champions League title in only his 3rd year. But they are up against the worst possible matchup: Manchester City, led by former Dortmund player Erling Haaland. And he would do what he does best, scoring not once, not twice, but 3 times and completely wiping the floor with his former team. This game was basically over before it even began. It's a disappointing way to end the season, but they'll be back, and we'll get to that very soon. However, it's not all bad, as Dortmund not only won the German Cup for a 2nd year in a row, but they also won the Bundesliga for the first time since the 2011-2012 season, something that neither Jude or Haaland accomplished in real life. So as we enter the following season, let's keep the spotlight on Jobe, who's now up to an 80 overall and having a breakout season, scoring 18 goals and 4 assists. And for the first time since the 1990s, Dortmund are going back-to-back. However, their domestic performance isn't carrying over to the Champions League, just barely making out of the group stage. But before we see how they do, let's head over to Italy. Ethan is also having a breakout season, scoring 10 goals and collecting 14 assists, with Leao and Santi Jimenez also having great seasons themselves. And after a very close campaign, it would be Milan winning the Serie A over Inter Milan. And in the Champions League, after finishing amongst the top teams in the group stage, they would unfortunately get knocked out by the defending champions in the round of 16. So with Ethan's season coming to an end, let's catch up with Jobe and Dortmund. After struggling in the group stage, they found a way to turn it around in the playoffs, and it all started by defeating Inter Milan 3-1 on aggregate. And following that win, They went on to beat Lille in the round of 16, who were nothing but a stepping stone for a quarterfinal appearance against fellow German team RB Leipzig, a matchup that would be tied at 3 before Jobe scored the winning goal to clinch their spot into the semi-finals. They're now up against Dembele, Desiree Doué, and a world-class PSG, and after holding them to a 1-1 draw in the first leg, they would head into the Parc des Princes as heavy underdogs and against all odds come out victorious at the end of 90 minutes. And that is back-to-back finals appearances for Dortmund, and with Real Madrid beating Liverpool, we now get to see the Bellingham brothers in a final. Dortmund will have the chance to redeem themselves not only for their finals performance last year, but also the finals loss against Real Madrid in 2024. But with neither team finding the back of the net at the end of 120 minutes, penalties will have to decide the winner. Here we go, Mbappe to kick things off, and he goes bottom left on Kobel. Guirassy up next, bottom left as well, beats Courtois. Rodrigo steps up, goes bottom left as well. Emre Can, let me guess, bottom left, top left. Is anyone gonna go to the right? No, Jude goes to the left as well. Jobe straight away right after his brother, and it's saved by Courtois. That was a bad penalty, not enough power. Vinny steps up and he beats Kobel. Adeyemi needs to score to keep it alive. Adeyemi, and he beats Courtois. Courtois was really slow on that one. Up next is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Kobel needs to make a save here, and Trent wins it for Real Madrid. With Dortmund losing a second Champions League final in a row and 1 year left on his contract, where does Jobe go from here? Before we answer that question, let's quickly summarize the following year, starting in Italy, where Ethan is celebrating a second consecutive Serie A title after having a career-high season of 17 goals and 14 assists. And with this title, he now only trails Jobe by 1 trophy. And that's because it would be a trophyless season for Dortmund as Bayern completes the treble. However, despite this being an underwhelming season, Jobe would claim the first individual award of this competition as he's voted the Bundesliga Player of the Season. Individual awards usually favor the attackers, so with these likely to be hard to come by, it's something to keep in mind when judging your careers. It's now time to shift our focus to the 2030 World Cup, where Jobe has earned his first call-up and scored 2 goals in this tournament to help England make it out of the group stage. However, their journey would come to an end in the semi-finals after being sent home by the tournament favorites. So let's shift our focus towards Ethan and France, who after making it out of the group stage, progressed all the way to the semi-finals against Italy. And after being held to a 1-1 draw, they came out on top in penalties to book their spot into the finals. But France wouldn't get off to the start that they were hoping for. Konate, to Theo, back to Konate. France are playing with fire here. High press from Spain, and Spain gets the ball back. Ferran Torres, through on goal, takes the shot, and it's 1-0 Spain. France cannot play out the back like that with Spain pressing that high. After being dominated for 45 minutes, France will have to shift the momentum early into the second half. Spain are still in possession of the ball. Pedri gets it to Pedro Porro. Quick pass to Lamine Yamal. Back to Porro. Intercepted by Zaire Emery, and he keeps it in play. France now in the counterattack. 49th minute. Desiree Doué. No options yet, but he does have Dembele on the right. Doué, shot. It's over Mbappe and it falls to Dembele, and it's 1-1. Despite losing the lead, Spain wasted no time in trying to get it back. Spain already looking to attack. Pedri with the lob ball to Lamine Yamal. Has options in the box. It's Ferran Torres. Ferran Torres receives. Ferran Torres takes the shot, and he beats Magnan. I thought he had that side covered, but a perfect shot into the top corner, and Spain regained the lead a minute after losing it. And despite France having one final chance to equalize this game, Dembele cuts in to Ethan. Ethan, no! That was such a bad shot selection. They're unfortunately going home empty-handed. But redemption will come for both players in the following season, starting with Ethan, who's once again celebrating a domestic double with Milan. And as for Jobe, he decided to join Arsenal after his contract with Dortmund expired, and that decision proved to be the right one, as Arsenal would go on to win their first Premier League title since 2004, and they also got to lift the FA Cup. And moving on to the following season, we're going to jump straight into the Euros, where Jobe and Ethan will be meeting for the first time in the semi-finals. And with both of them still looking for their first international trophy, are we going to see one of them rise up to the occasion? France looking to build something up right now. Ethan carrying the ball up the field. Doué to his right. He goes to Dembele instead. Mbappe is making the run. Dembele finds him. Mbappe shoots and it's saved by Henderson. 3 minutes left of the first half. Palmer to Foden. Why does he shoot there? Saka gets the ball back. Jobe. Step overs. Jobe. Still Jobe. Shoots. Scores! England takes the lead. England are now 45 minutes away from a finals appearance, but France still have plenty of time to turn this game around. Here we go, counter-attacking opportunity for France. Ethan avoids the slide tackle. Through ball. It's for Doué. I didn't even see him. Doué in behind. Doué. Shot taken, but it's saved by Henderson. While France are still looking to equalize this game, England, on the other hand, are trying to double their lead. One goal won't be enough. England looking for a second one. Jobe to Palmer. Good turn. The defense wasn't expecting it. Palmer takes the shot, but it's saved by Magna. That was very close. France is on the back foot once again. This England team is not giving them anything. Palmer to Jobe. Koundé's tracking him down. Jobe takes the shot, and it goes in. How does that go in? Big mistake from Magna. Full credit to Jobe, but Magna just gets to the ball too late. Touches his glove, and it's in the back of the net. France now trail by 2 goals, but an opportunity late in the game might give them a chance to come back. Free kick for France, and it's Ethan taking it. I think. Dembele walks over it. Ethan. It's good! What a free kick from Ethan. France are on the board, but the clock is not on their side. But despite Ethan's best efforts and one final opportunity, France would ultimately run out of time, and with England moving on to the finals and eventually going on to win it, watching Jobe lift an international trophy is all the motivation Ethan needed to step up his game. So while he's trailed for the entirety of this competition, don't count him out just yet, because he's about to catch up. And it all starts in the following season with Barcelona making a move for the young Frenchman. And in his new colors, Ethan would put up an impressive 15-goal and 20-assist campaign as Barcelona are crowned La Liga champions. And in the following season, Ethan would cross paths with Jobe in the Champions League round of 16. And while everyone was expecting a close matchup, it would be everything but that, as Barcelona would go on to win 5-0 over 2 legs. And with both Real Madrid and Barcelona advancing all the way to the finals, Jobe will have to rely on not only his brother, but Kylian as well to stop Ethan from lifting the Champions League trophy. We have a much more important game to cover very soon, so we're going to keep this one short. After conceding early into the game, Jude would find the back of the net for Real Madrid to tie things up. However, despite Jude's best efforts, it wouldn't be enough, as Ethan would be the difference maker in the second half. First picking up an assist on the go-ahead goal scored by Nico Williams, and another assist late in the game to Lamine Yamal to put this game out of reach. So at the end of 90 minutes, Barcelona are lifting the Champions League trophy, and our competition is now tied with only the World Cup left to play. And that's because in Season 10, both Arsenal and Barcelona would fall short in the Champions League. And domestically, Real Madrid would end up winning La Liga, and over in England, Liverpool would win the Premier League. So with all that being said, before we move on to this one last game, these are the trophies that both Jobe and Ethan have won in addition to their career statistics up until now. And depending on how you value international trophies versus Champions League, Jobe might still very well be in the lead right now. So it's only fitting that both England and France would meet in the World Cup finals, where Ethan and Jobe will be able to settle this rivalry once and for all. Here we go. England versus France, Jobe versus Ethan, for all the marbles, one last time on the biggest of stage, the World Cup Finals. Jobe receives the ball, moving it up the field. Jobe, shot from distance, saved by Chevalier. If we're gonna start like this, we're gonna have a good game. Corner for England. Let's see what they can do here. Jobe swings it in, headed away by Koundé. Falls to Delap. Edge of the box, very crowded. Finds a pass to Jobe, to Colwill. Shot goes wide. Good start from England. Throw in for England. Bellingham heads it back to Palmer. Palmer down the line, marked very closely by Koundé. Looking for options. Gives it to Jobe behind him. Jobe back to Palmer. Finds Menu. Delap is alone in the box. The French are just standing there. What is going on? England take a 1-0 lead. That's the worst defending I've ever seen. France will need to reply quickly after conceding the way that they did. And a few moments later, luck would be on their side.
Penalty for France. The ref is pointing to the spot. I think he got it wrong. I think Branthwaite touches the ball before colliding with Ethan. And Tuchel is not having it. Who is taking the penalty? Of course, it's going to be Kylian to tie this game up. Kylian steps up and smashes the ball in the back of the net. This game is now tied.
And that goal seems to have shifted the momentum in France's favor, because in the second half, they would come very close to scoring, beating Henderson, but not the post. But a few moments later, they would have another good scoring opportunity. Dembele, great ball down the line, who finds Ethan making a run. Kylian to his left, holds on to it. Not many options now. Ethan turns around, takes the shot, and he beats Henderson. I don't think Henderson was expecting that shot, and Ethan gives France a 2-1 lead in this game. With France now taking the lead, England will have to respond rather quickly. Jude to Saka, back to Jude, passes it to Jobe, into Delap. Delap cuts back onto his right, and it's saved by Chevalier. Massive save by Chevalier, and his teammates know it. 20 minutes left on the clock. Jobe carrying the ball up the field. England still looking for a goal. Palmer to Mainu. Great tackle by Thuram, but it falls back to England. Jobe in good position to shoot, takes the shot, and is saved by Chevalier again. France in possession of the ball with 7 minutes left to play. Dembele passes it down the field to Mbappe, who's in a foot race against Branthwaite, and Branthwaite gets to it. England now looking to counter. 5 minutes left to play. Jobe carrying the ball up the field for England to Delap. Delap has Jobe to his right. Ball rolls, gets through Saliba. Delap takes the shot, and England have tied the game with 3 minutes left to play. He's been a problem all game, and he finds the equalizer for England. Delap's late equalizer keeps the rivalry alive, and if there wasn't enough drama already, penalties will be needed to settle the score.
England go first. It's Cold Palmer. Chips it down the middle, and Chevalier does not even budge.
Doué, France's first kicker, and he finesses it in the bottom right corner. Up next, Saka gets it under Chevalier, who guessed the right side. Mbappe already scored one penalty tonight, and this one might even be better. Jobe up next for England, and it's saved by Chevalier. And now Ethan up next for France, and he slots it in the top right corner. The man who equalized for England, Delap, and his shot is saved too by Chevalier. What a penalty shootout he is having. Dembele concealed the deal for France.
It is France. Allez les Bleus. All rise to another class of gilded Gallic greats.
It took 120 minutes and penalties, but Ethan finally wins his first international trophy. Who knows what the next 10 years will look like, but after a decade-long rivalry and trailing for the majority of it, in the end, it's Ethan that's coming out on top.